Breaking news coming out as Iran adds to the pressure on the United States with their nuclear program acceleration. This literally coming out in the past hour, and this is in response to what has taken place in the last 24 hours as President Joe Biden has ordered strikes against Iran-backed militia after attacks on U.S. troops. They're saying there have been over 103 different attacks on U.S. troops. Biden is now striking back, and in response, Iran is saying it is time to ramp up their nuclear weapons programs. Now, this also comes as we've seen the Middle East conflict take its toll here in the United States. As take a look at this. Yesterday, during Christmas Day, pro-Palestinian protests ended multiple arrests on Christmas Day in New York as they chant that there will be no celebration in the United States while the war in the Middle East takes place. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you the latest video footage and articles, and in addition to that, I shared with you just 3 days ago, the Border Patrol in the United States has encountered 17 people on the terror watch list that have entered in through the southern border in the month of November alone. Records being broken as they're saying the threats to the United States, they are already here. And what is taking place in the Middle East is intensifying the threats, and many are saying that the United States and Iran will soon be going to war, and we could be entering into World War III, all surrounding the conflict with Israel and Hamas in the Middle East. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest so that way you can see exactly what's going on. But before we do me a quick favor. If you appreciate the updates, letting you know exactly what's taking place, keeping you up to speed on everything, do me a favor, smash that like button. Just takes a second. If you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? Hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and to stay updated off of social media platforms in case we've heard cyber attacks could hit our communications, be sure to join me at steveramnews.com, where I'll be sending out a regular newsletter and keep you updated via email. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in and get you caught up on the latest.
Anti-Israel protesters turning violent, wreaking havoc on Christmas Day here in New York City, clashing with the NYPD, who reportedly moved to a level 3 threat alert, the second highest from the department.
So as always, link in the description below to this article that came out literally an hour ago today that reads, hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters clashed with police during a demonstration in the streets of New York City on Christmas Day. 6 people were arrested and at least 1 police officer suffered minor injuries from a fall while assisting a colleague. The protests began outside of Fox News headquarters on 6th Avenue in Midtown Manhattan at 2 p.m. before approximately 500 demonstrators headed over to 5th Avenue and surrounded the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Protesters carried a mock nativity scene and chanted "Christmas is canceled," and they renewed calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. A small number of demonstrators were involved in scuffles with the police officers as the crowd moved downtown towards Union Square. The NYPD briefly moved to level 3 mobilization, the department's second highest alert in response. Now, 4 men and 2 women were charged with offenses including disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and criminal mischief. An NYPD spokesperson said the injured police officer was in stable condition. In Washington, D.C., demonstrators also protested at the homes of Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Rallies have occurred on almost a daily basis across the U.S. over the Biden administration's support for Israel's devastating retaliatory campaign in Gaza. So let me know your thoughts. This going on as in the Middle East things are intensifying, and take a look. Literally in the past hour, Iran adds to the pressure of the U.S. with nuclear program acceleration. We're hearing this is in response to what has unfolded in the last 24 hours. I'm going to share with you some video footage here in just a second. UN says Tehran has increased output of near weapons-grade uranium after the summer slowdown. Iran has tripled production of nearly weapons-grade uranium in a move likely to deepen its confrontation with the West as Tehran helps allied militia to attack Israel and U.S. forces in the region. Iran's decision to triple its production rate of near weapons-grade uranium marks the collapse of a quiet diplomatic effort between Washington and Tehran to ease tensions. And as I mentioned, this just coming out in response to what's unfolded in the last 24 hours. Take a look at the video footage.
With the Fox News alert, the U.S. striking 3 facilities in Iraq used by Iranian-backed militants. The act of retaliation comes after 3 U.S. service members were hurt in an attack on a base in northern Iraq.
And fighting is raging along the Israel-Gaza border. About half an hour ago, the, quote, Iron Dome intercepting multiple rockets fired from northern Gaza. This comes after Iran's president issuing a threat against Israel after one of their commanders was in Syria. Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey?
Hey guys, good morning. Overnight, President Biden ordered the U.S. military to strike a series of targets belonging to Iran-backed Iraqi Shia militias. According to U.S. Central Command, 3 strikes destroyed the targeted facilities and likely killed a number of Kataib Hezbollah militants. The attacks came in response to a drone strike against the Erbil air base that houses U.S. service members. 3 Americans were injured in that attack, 1 critically. This does bring the total number of attacks against American interests in the Middle East to 103 since mid-October. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin released a statement after the response saying, quote, "Let me be clear. The president and I will not hesitate to take necessary action to defend the United States, our troops, and our interest. There is no higher priority. While we do not seek to escalate conflict in the region, we are committed and fully prepared to take further necessary measures to protect our people and our facilities." This does come after Israeli forces remain on high alert following an airstrike yesterday in Syria that IRGC Commander Saeed Razi Mousavi. In response to that strike, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi said, quote, "The act is a sign of the Zionist regime frustration and weakness in the region, for which it will certainly pay the price." Now, the possibility of a broader conflict with Iran does come as a top advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Ron Dermer, is in the United States today. He will reportedly meet with the Biden administration to discuss the next steps for the war inside Gaza. Guys, back to you.
So there you have it, and take a look. Just coming out 4 hours ago, Biden orders strikes against Iran-backed militia after attacks on U.S. troops. President Biden ordered retaliatory airstrikes against Iranian-backed militia groups after 3 U.S. service members were wounded, 1 critically, in a Christmas Day drone attack in northern Iraq, the White House said on Monday. So again, this took place during Christmas Day. The fighting illustrates the broader effects of the Israeli-Hamas war across the Middle East and how U.S. military bases in Iraq and Syria have become targets. Biden has tried to prevent the war from spiraling into a wider regional conflict that opens up new fronts of Israeli fighting or draws the U.S. in directly. Now, the administration has not responded to each attempted attack on American soldiers with military force, leading to criticism from Republicans. Now, the Iranian-backed militia, Hezbollah, and affiliate groups under an umbrella of Iranian-backed militias, so Iran is supporting and funding these groups, claim credit for the attacks, National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said in a statement on Monday. After a briefing on the attack, Biden directed strikes against 3 locations utilized by Hezbollah and affiliated groups focused specifically on unmanned aerial drone activities. The United States will act at a time and in a manner of our choosing should these attacks continue, she concluded. U.S. forces have come under attack at least 100 times in Iraq and Syria, usually with rockets and drones, since the Israeli-Hamas war began in October. It's unclear if the latest U.S. retaliation will prevent future attacks against American troops who are deployed in Iraq and Syria to help stop a resurgence of ISIS. So while these attacks are taking place in the Middle East, there's many that are concerned about the potential for attacks here in the United States, especially after the protests that we've seen and the warnings that have come out from FBI Director Wray of attacks on U.S. soil. And we're hearing that they are already here. They've been coming across our southern border for the past several years, and there are actually what they're saying is sleeper cells waiting to attack the United States. Now, to get the latest on that and the information coming out as the U.S. has seen records broken just recently for illegal border crossings, be sure to check out this video right here next as I cover it in detail for you. And as more information comes out, I'll be sure to keep you up to date here on the channel. But that is the latest. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.